Absolutely. And it's a class. I told Bill that. We need to be a class.
What a beautiful classroom. I haven't been here.
Oh yeah, you moved on from physics.
Yeah, I'm coming back next year.
Are you? You gonna do AP? Yeah. You're gonna do AP physics as a junior?
Of course.
Will you do AP bio also?
No, I don't think I'm gonna do it bio. The only person in my whole family that did it was Muhammad. I don't think I want to do it. Because I actually like physics.
Yeah.
Physics is fun, so we'll do physics. I found it also easy, so yeah.
Good.
Stay safe. Better safe than sorry.
I feel like it. He's a really good teacher.
Same time. I'm so hungry.
Did you not have any breakfast?
No.
I'm not selling anything. I'm gonna bring my kids something later if you want a sandwich.
I don't believe
You want? Oh, are you?
I was smart. I was actually I was in the back of the piece one. You finish at 10:15, right?
Yeah, but it's not gonna take an hour for 3 speeches.
So I wish I could attach my parents' phone.
Yesterday for 3 people, it only took 35 minutes. Yeah, it's 8 minutes max,
Also,
and we're only 3. Yeah,
I could just tell mom to go and get me like 10.
10. We'll be done.
Hola, buenos días. Suerte, chica. Don't worry. That'd be amazing. I think you're something. Or maybe you're gonna eat for the cold. I'm not sure. I think you have to. No, we're not doing anything. Is this painting? No. He's painting that? He's painting Newton. What is that? That looks so cool. That's getting so fun next year. Do you feel nervous just looking at me? You're not going to do that. Don't worry, child. This is where you're doing the debate. This is where you're doing the debate.
Oh.
And the judge, he was like smiling and nodding as they were doing their speech.
Thank you. No,
No way. It's me. Yeah, it's me.
Look, he's doing Isaac.
It's really cool.
It's actually amazing. Who's this?
That is, I have no idea.
Is that Nikola Tesla?
Maybe. Yeah.
No, that's
yeah.
Isaac Newton.
Yeah,
And that's Isaac.
I can't tell who that is.
Figure out what the.
Do any of you have the program? The
I have the times.
I don't have the program, it's actual.
They just play along.
I might have it, I might not. Depends if you're on. What's your name?
You're here. Yeah, you're number 3.
Number 3.
Yeah.
Who's number 1?
How do you pronounce your first name?
Zoe.
Zui?
Yeah.
Such a cool name.
Very cool.
They do all their things, it's just easier.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I did in debate.
All right, just don't clear it out until I write it down, okay? We have 3 minutes. Do you want to stick to time or are you ready to start? Do you need 3 minutes to go through anything? Take a deep breath.
They will stress out more.
Okay. Oh wait, is the camera set up? Is it on you?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good.
So the name I was just telling you before, the name of my speech is Juvenile Delinquency is a Cry for Help. Imagine you are visiting a prison. Here you meet a 16-year-old girl in a dark cell the size of a bathroom with self-mutilating cuts on her arms. She's depressed and isolated. She should be in school. She should be learning from her delinquent actions rather than undergoing depression. So when you think of your childhood, do you remember playing with your friends? Or do you think of a windowless cell with metal bars? Juvenile delinquency is a cry for help. Juvenile delinquents should definitely answer for their actions, but in a way that doesn't impair their path of reforming. Our youth are the hope of our future. Hence, we need to ensure the rehabilitation of juvenile delinquents. We need to understand the risk factors that lead youth to delinquency, why each juvenile delinquency case is different, and why juveniles must not be treated as adults. This will help us to realize why prevention, alternative sanctions, and rehabilitation programs are more effective solutions than harsh incarceration. What is juvenile delinquency? Juvenile delinquency is a term for any unlawful act committed or participated in by a minor. Unfortunately, the meaning of juvenile crime and the age until which a person is considered a juvenile varies from region to region. Juvenile delinquency facilities focus on the rehabilitation and education of juveniles rather than conviction. In 1977, when the number of juvenile delinquency cases in the U.S. peaked, legislators created harsher laws, allowing more minors to be tried as adults. In spite of a drastic 44% decrease in the number of juvenile delinquency cases, reforms to return the juvenile justice system back to the original intentions are now being implemented swiftly. So why do adolescents become delinquents? One of the major risk factors is social circumstances, like isolation, poor parenting, immoral mentorship, and bad company. Another one is environmental conditions. like poverty and exposure to violent or inappropriate media. The third one is the physiology and mental health of kids. Per MRI studies, the frontal cortex, which controls reasoning, unlike adults, is not fully developed in an adolescent, resulting in impulsive decisions and emotionally stressful situations. Also, teenagers are easily swayed by temptation and are prone to riskier behavior. Therefore, prosecutors should not treat juveniles as adults, and they should take into account every delinquent circumstances when penalizing the juvenile. Furthermore, awareness of children's circumstances can help us prevent delinquency. When we incarcerate these juveniles, what happens to them? Of the many examples, a common problem around the globe, insufficiently equipped detention centers, and sexual violence against young inmates. More than a third of U.S. detention centers lack sufficient amenities and developmental programs for juvenile occupants. Also, a fifth of sexual violence victims in prisons were adolescents because they were not separated from adults. At the same time, solitary confinement exacerbates a juvenile's mental and physical health, affecting the development of their moral compass. The primary record that children receive in adult jails limits future education and employment opportunities. Also, juveniles placed in the U.S. adult correction system are 34% more likely to recidivate than their counterparts in the juvenile system. Why? Because kids, unlike adults, don't reflect on their actions during jail time. Thus, harsh incarceration in a retributive justice system is neither an ethical nor an economically viable solution for delinquency. So what are some solutions to help these juvenile delinquents? Circumstances, actions, beliefs, and mental health issues of a juvenile often go unrecognized by the adults around them. Families and societies must have a safe sharing environment with two-way communication for adolescents. Furthermore, parent management training and home environment evaluations can ensure the non-abusive yet firm juvenile supervision. A community-based service strategy, the multifaceted wraparound program, has seen success in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Here, local authorities, family members, and the juvenile jointly create a development plan. Relying on data about health and performance before and during incarceration, the program enables early intervention. It promotes rehabilitation by giving preference to sanctions like house arrest and juvenile detention, which provide the juvenile with a humane environment of communication and interaction. But do these juvenile correction solutions actually work? Yes, they do. Of the many examples, 15-year-old Jason Wing, convicted of armed robbery and hustling. At the Texas Youth Commission Juvenile Facility, Jason was motivated to receive his GED and pursue a master's in science and business finance. Now a successful entrepreneur, he connects previously arraigned juvenile delinquents with successful business executives, helping them to ameliorate their future. While the 12-year sentence held Jason accountable for his actions, the supportive programs helped him transform his life and that of other juveniles. I'm not saying that these juvenile delinquents shouldn't be punished for their actions. I am saying that punishment should not limit their success. For a safe community and a promising future, let's prevent juvenile crime and reform the rehabilitation of juvenile delinquents. After all, John Malloy once said, hurt people, hurt people. Heal people, heal people. Thank you.
As I was researching on the internet, specifically how to write an interesting introduction to a speech, I thought to myself, perhaps Google is taking this search and integrating it into a profile that they have created of me. Judging by this fact, it seems now that I have become the product of Google, and they're most likely selling this information to other major corporations as I am speaking. So, the old saying, you know yourself better than anyone else, might become obsolete as the internet evolves and attains more information about us. With abuses of databases such as Cambridge Analytica, using data analysis to manipulate processes such as elections through advertising, some may argue against the internet monitoring internet activity. Yet, this just might not be as much of a negative concept as it seems at first glance. You may be taken aback by my statement. Of course, we all know the book 1984 by English author George Orwell. In his famous novel, Orwell describes a society in which citizens are under constant surveillance by their government, a world that is to be avoided at all costs, as we all essentially have the need for privacy at different degrees. After all, who would want their every move tracked by their government? Ultimately, this is a dystopian novel, and we should bear in mind its warnings. While the concept of privacy might vary from one person to another, according to Merriam-Webster's Law Dictionary, the definition of privacy is, quote, freedom from unauthorized intrusion. What if intrusion was authorized? Then the question becomes, when should we give up our privacy to the internet? What would it cost us to sacrifice our right to isolation from public scrutiny for maximizing cybersecurity and enhancing healthcare? What if we knew our information was being accumulated? Let's take Google as an example. Google has a service called Google Flu Trends that tracks outbreaks in a region and reports the information to clinics. The service dynamics are based on analyzing search history patterns and synthesizing searches to track the outbreaks. Yuval Noah Harari, author of Homo Deus, a book encapsulating the agenda and future of humanity, mentioned that the service, even with certain limitations, such as not reading private emails of individuals, is capable of knowing when an outbreak is on the rise roughly 10 days before any other conventional health service. But the key to actually putting this service into use is by implementing our information into databases such as Google. Suppose an epidemic such as cholera on the rise, a disease that the World Health Organization classifies as a global threat. Just think of how many consequences the service can help us avoid with the act of predicting and possibly reversing the rise of such epidemics. Enhancing healthcare, of course, is only one of the few goals we can achieve through using the internet. Unfortunately, in our contemporary world, a child can be just a few clicks away from the risk of being exposed to inappropriate content, cyber stalkers, cyber predators, and many more. Bearing in mind, there is the option of completely isolating a child from the use of technology. But if you look at our school, every student is required to attend school with technological equipment, whether it be a phone or a laptop, as we carry out many functions and assignments using technology on a daily basis. According to Keylogger Review, quote, 82% of sex crimes involving a minor are initiated from social sites. What if databases such as Google could take on the role of a cyber guardian and filter out content for the protection of minors? Would it be worth giving up our privacy on the internet for the protection of minors from harmful and possibly threatening content? Google Trends is another service that has been effective in collecting data off of searches to provide the public with statistics on a variety of subjects, such as social issues, political issues, cultural issues, and even subjects such as clothing trends. One of the issues that the service discusses is that of gun rights in the United States. The service claims that the issue of gun rights and gun control in the United States has become a major political and cultural matter. In addition, the service also provides the ratio of gun shops to gun control in the United States as of 2019. Considering that this is public data, schools, governments, individuals, and even entire communities can use these statistics for tackling their social issues, political issues, economic issues, any issues really. Evidently, there are quite a few benefits to having outside source monitoring the content, but as for our human rights, there have been numerous complaints concerning our human rights and governments as well as databases monitoring internet activity. The Declaration of Human Rights, established by the United Nations General Assembly, mentions that we have the right to freedom of expression, opinion, and the right to privacy, along with many more, But nevertheless, with these rights comes responsibility, specifically with what we choose to search and display on the internet. In fact, Google's Terms of Service site mentions that, quote, you are responsible for the activity that happens on or through your Google account. And that essentially what you choose to search and display on the internet can be used to modify and filter content tailored to your profile. In essence, Google quite clearly informs us of its policies. So, is it really considered a violation of privacy if one voluntarily displays anything on the internet? If we give consent to databases on the internet and use these forces for good, such as for maximizing cybersecurity and enhancing healthcare, then maybe it is worth giving up some of our privacy. This is not a science experiment, with researchers taking a small group of people and running a controlled experiment. This is the internet, a whole virtual world harvesting a large number of data points at an elevated level of accuracy. So, although giving up our privacy on the internet seems like the last thing we want to do, maybe data collection on the internet might just be our ally in this virtual world that we have created. Keeping in mind our beliefs, such as that every individual is entitled to privacy, as well as recognizing the warnings of novels such as 1984, by giving consent to databases on the internet for acquiring data, we can reach unprecedented heights in the world we know today.
Should I give you the title? Sure. As social media takes away our freedom of expression. Yeah. My title is The Virtual Battle. Growing up, I remember watching an advertisement on television over and over again, never tiring of it. This simple ad for a telecom company left a profound effect on me. In a rural village in India, a group of small children huddled around a tiny phone, their eager faces staring at the screen. Miles away from any institution, this phone had become their teacher, classroom, and school all in one. Every time, I vividly recall the gooseflesh I had when I saw the power of the internet and the ability it had to connect people everywhere. An idea can indeed change your life. All those years ago, the internet was built with the aspiration and inspiration to democratize society. Social media was created to bridge the gap between the millions of disenfranchised people whose voices were lost in the crowd. Social media aimed to be the way through which disempowered people could make their voices heard and speak out about anything and everything. If you had something to say, you could say it. The internet would help with that. If there was something you wanted to know, the information could reach you, and no power could stop it. While the concept of free expression has existed for centuries and has been an integral part of our society, these social media platforms have truly redefined what it means. At its very core, the internet was built for free expression. But now I ask you, all these years later, has this tool truly put power into the wrong hands? For any number of free-thinking people on social media, there are many more organized bunches of haters who are targeting, silencing, outshouting, and bullying all those they disagree with. In fact, social media has become an organized vehicle for violence. In the garb of free speech and expression, organizations and people hidden behind their screens have weaponized the power of these platforms and harnessed it to their advantage. There is an invasion of troll armies whose sole purpose is to bully their opponents, spread misinformation, and post fake texts, all for a little pocket change. Yes, you heard that right. Entire organizations of trolls impersonating regular people like you and me on a daily basis, cash in on their services every single minute. Our screens are powerful tools for good, until they start serving as platforms for those faceless trolls spewing words of hate. The metamorphosis of free expression on social media has truly been terrifying. From a platform of liberation to a platform of oppression. And where there was an opportunity to encash, in swooped the hungry tech organizations with their algorithms, changing the game entirely. Algorithms and AI have ensured that we are monitored and mapped, and what we like and what we follow is fed to us over and over again in a never-ending cycle. Little by little, we have walled ourselves into this echo chamber of similar thoughts and preconceived notions. These power-hungry bots have successfully altered the backends of all our favorite social media apps and subconsciously altered and influenced us in ways we cannot even fathom. Entire business plans of tech corporations are run on these very algorithms, generating more data and more revenue. Elections have been won, fake news has been popularized, and violent agendas have been pushed on the backs of this. Gone are the days when the internet was a place to democratize debate and showcase multiple viewpoints. Algorithmic manipulation has officially taken over. But what is even worse is when the virtual violence spills into the real world. In May 2017 in India, a chain of shocking messages circulated on WhatsApp, a popular messaging platform. These texts pointed fingers at several members of local communities and called them out for heinous crimes, such as child abduction and organ harvesting. Spreading like wildfire, soon these weren't just a bunch of texts anymore. They had become reality. Dozens of lynchings took place all around the country. Innocent civilians were targeted, all because of a few simple social media interactions. A false rumor had cost countless lives. In a study published by Gabriel Wyman, a renowned professor of communications and a terrorism expert, Wyman states that nearly 90% of organized terrorism activities take place via social media. Platforms like YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and other internet forums are responsible for the spread of messages to recruit more members and gather intelligence. The infamous terror organization ISIS has used more than 100 sites to spread their terror, whether in the form of violent beheading videos or threats. Their social media presence is truly horrifying. Countless other organizations like Al-Qaeda and Boko Haram have also used their social media presence for one sole purpose: radicalization. But are we just going to stand by and allow social media to take away our freedom of expression? How can we stop these platforms from being misused? There is no easy answer to this tech and social conundrum, but we can begin by the creation of a set of standards or regulations that huge tech companies have to sign up for. Governments all around the world must ensure that they enforce basic common policy changes to make sure that the internet does not fall prey to money power and manipulation. Another interesting angle on this is community moderation. UN Special Advisor David Kay proposes the involvement of communities, nonprofits, and social organizations to bring in more transparency and increase the application of fundamental human rights as a set standard for these platforms. What this translates to in terms of actionables is a good, healthy debate we all must have on these very social media platforms. Social media, my friends, is a value neutral tool. How you use it influences the value it brings to you. If the voices of hate are allowed to harness the power of these platforms, the result is violence. But if we all use it for the greater common good, we can even write the constitution of a country together. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You too. Anyway. And actually were gracias a ti. How Ian and person were like kind of polar
Right?
opposites, but yet connected somehow. Yeah, actually really nice.
When does it start?